So the DOJ is currently investigating after anti-ICE activists stormed a church in St. Paul over a pastor's alleged ties to ICE. So they thought he had ties to ICE.
Now, this comes as 1,500 soldiers are now on standby, ready to deploy amid growing protest in the state.
Just so uncalled for, the church incident. Matt Finn is live in Minneapolis with the latest. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Ainsley. Those protesters walked into that church service, started screaming chants for Renee Good, who is the woman who was shot by ICE earlier this month, getting into churchgoers' faces, all because they say one of the pastors works for ICE.
You are a fake pastor. You are a fake Christian.
Ridiculous, dude.
Stand up, fight back.
The demonstration organizer told Don Lemon, a former news anchor who was following the protesters, that it was a clandestine operation meant to disrupt a, quote, key location. One video appears to show a protester inside the church calling the churchgoers comfortable white people and shouting, "You have your nice jewelry. What do you do to stand with your Somali community?" Now, so far, we have not seen Minnesota Governor Tim Walz or Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry publicly responding to the St. Paul church being stormed. The Justice Department has launched a civil rights investigation into the protesters bursting through the doors of the House of Worship.
It carries criminal penalties and violations. And what the Attorney General is saying is the truth. She will come down hard. The Department of Justice will come down hard. Our Civil Rights Division will come down hard on anybody who tries to impede or intimidate somebody in a place of worship or a police officer or an ICE officer. It's just not going to happen in this administration.
Now, earlier yesterday, Mayor Fry once again said that demonstrations in Minneapolis are peaceful.
In the face of a whole lot of adversity, I'm so proud to be from Minneapolis. They're peacefully protesting. They're standing up for one another. And, you know, like I said, it's not just going to be resistance here in this city. We're not backing down. We're not going to be intimidated.
So we began reaching out to Governor Walz, Mayor Fry yesterday for comment on the church. So far, we have not heard back. We've also reached out to the St. Paul mayor. Back to you guys in New York.
All right, Matt Finn, Live Force Minneapolis. Matt, thank you very much. You know, this is remarkable that, and Mayor Fry will set aside, he just is waffling all over this thing. He says he wants to support ICE, but yet this ICE is bad, and, you know, he wants the ICE to get the F out. But the Governor Tim Walz, I remember over the holidays, Governor Tim Walz was warning that ICE would be coming into Minneapolis and would be doing midnight mass raids on immigrants at church services. He said, quote, because that's who they are, after comparing ICE to Nazis. Well, guess what? He's had no comment about the anti-ICE agitators that are breaking federal law by obstructing and assaulting officers going into the church. It wasn't ICE that went into the church. It's the crowd that he incensed that went into this church. And this is just a despicable scene.
Well, this is just horrible. I mean, you go into church to pray, to ask for forgiveness, to set your week in the right direction and the right tone. Everything is peaceful, and it's about love and kindness and spreading the gospel. And when you have these individuals who are yelling and screaming and getting in people's faces, this is just too far. This is not peaceful. And they're walking in and storming into a house of worship. And it's just plain out wrong. I would be scared to go to church next week if I were in that area, because is this a trend now? Is this something they're going to start doing?
But evidently the pastor came out and started to engage him, but they just kept screaming at him because they don't want to have a conversation. So he was still ready to engage people that barged into the church. By the way, in today's security environment, didn't they have a situation where they barged into a church like 6 months ago and started shooting people? The minute you see some thunderous noise coming from the back of a church, you got to be thinking the worst. And then security, you would think would be in a church, but then one in the middle of the aisle started screaming. This is all scripted. This is all planned. Just like they go out of their way to follow you with the apps to make sure to find out what hotels ICE is staying in. Now the hotel's saying, I'm getting so many complaints, I can't have ICE agents here because all the protesters come and my other customers are complaining. So this is what they wanted. They wanted to create chaos. But tell me how this resonates with most of America.
And what if you're in church with your children I mean, I would be panicking right now if I'm sitting here. I would hit the floor. I'd try to get out of there with my child. I'd be scared.
But you hit the nail on the head there, Ainsley, and that is you said you would be scared to go to church in St. Paul, Minneapolis, not because of ICE raiding in there, which is what Walz was warning about, but because of the anti-ICE agitators that he has poured gasoline on fueling. And the fact that we keep hearing, Governor Walz just called for people to document the atrocities, that there's an invasion of the federal government. This is a dangerous narrative. And it's leading to actual violence in situations like we just watched.
Right. So I think it's inevitable those 1,500 troops are going to come down because he's not letting the cops help. So what are they going to do? ICE agents got 3,000 there. So there's no doubt about it. He's going to be bringing those troops down from Alaska.
But the mayor said to Donald Trump, he said, we don't need more federal agents to keep people safe. We are safe. Does that look safe to you?
No.
Would you want to stand in the middle of that? Would you want to be in church service when you have hundreds of people coming in and screaming?
So what I think is so amazing, he goes, I'm so proud for Minneapolis. They're standing up for our neighbors, Somali neighbors. Your Somali neighbors are fine if they are here legally. If they're not here legally, they're going to go. That's it. It doesn't matter. And then when you say, well, a lot of the neighbors are pitching in and they're going shopping because people are afraid to go shopping. You should only be afraid to go shopping if there's a warrant out for your arrest or if you're here illegally. If you're helping them out, it's you're helping them stay in your city illegally, which is against the law.
Yeah, Valerie Harwell is a woman in 2024, in the summer of 2024, that was killed by a drunk illegal immigrant in Minneapolis that was from Ecuador. He was twice released on the streets. ICE went and got him just months ago because they targeted the actual dangers to the community. You don't hear, I asked Jacob Fry about Ms. Harwell. He had no idea who she was. But at the end of the day, you cannot divorce the fact that this isn't just out of nowhere. This is because in sanctuary cities, there are dangerous, in many cases violent, criminal illegal aliens on the streets, and this administration is trying to round them up and deport them because that's what federal immigration law holds.
They just arrested a guy from the Latin Kings who was still in paperwork from the FBI vehicle, defiling it, stealing it, and then they took the gun safe from there. I don't know how that footage never ended up on the Sunday shows. And if you just go on X, you could see all the attacks on ICE. And for this mayor not to be confronted by this footage is ridiculous. Or the governor.
Well, and we're focusing so much on Minneapolis, Minnesota. The state is not only dealing with these protests, they're dealing with so much fraud, too.
They are. And we can connect some dots here, Ainsley, because you just saw Dr. Oz and the California U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley out there launching a massive fraud investigation in California. Why is that? And we're going to get into the detail.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.